Shot for the round and mid deploy, ayy. Ran up from a dollar, catch a slow, ayy. What? Nigga. No boyfriend, 4 for 1 to the project. Lying young and street, made the pussy, bring the black back. Standing in the kitchen, whipping, nigga, catch a contact. Shot for the round and mid deploy, ayy. Ran up from a dollar, catch a slow, ayy. Love my pistol, dog, and fit just like a glove. I ain't come up out the truck, they no fool me was selling drugs. Dope boyfriend, just like Juice Jane 3-6. Lying young and screens, I been turned up with the demons. Ayy, Trapper gave a son to believe in. I been on my grind, them hating niggas hate to see them. Ayy, Shawty say she falling for a trapper, ayy. Try to rob and on my dog and get a clapper, ayy. We the ones that really make it happen. When my pistol by my belt up, they ask about it, it's fashion, ayy. Yeah, you really getting money for the capture. See the bunny on the gram and he even cap on his capture, ayy. You ain't talking money, then you yapping when you lose it all, my nigga. Not just remember who had it, ayy. I been rapping nigga like a bandit, ayy. Made the car just to answer, they wanted status. Dope boyfriend, 4 for 1 to the project. Lying young and street, made the pussy, bring the black back. Standing in the kitchen, whipping, nigga, catch a contact. Shot it for the round and mid deploy.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It is your boy, Atypical Security Guard. Today, I want to talk to you about my 5 tips for anyone who is looking to start their own security guard centered YouTube channel. You know, when I started this journey about 3 years ago, there just were not a lot of options out there in terms of people trying to provide content, provide training and information. And over the last 3 years, that has really, really grown. You're seeing more and more people that are getting online, getting on YouTube, putting out content, putting out information, trying to train, trying to help educate, motivate, and inform. And I'm very, very, very happy to see that, because we need that. We need that in our community. So over the last couple of weeks, I've had a lot of people that have reached out, the more that I've given my email address out, and we've really tried to kind of build the community around this platform. I've had people reach out and say, listen, I have some information that I want to share. I have an outlook. I have a viewpoint. You know, where do I even start? And I know that seems a little odd for people, because you're like, hey, just start a channel, right? But it's not that easy. How do you gain traction? How do you get people to tune in? How do you get people to listen to your perspective, right? It's all about communication. And it's not as easy as it seems. So today I want to go over my top 5 tips for starting your own security channel. This won't be a super in-depth, super long video. I'm just going to give you guys my 5 perspectives, my 5 points of view. And as always, you know, if you guys have something that you want to contribute, feel free to jump into the comments. If you have a specific question while I'm on here, I'll be more than happy to share that. So the first tip, okay, and this is probably the most difficult thing for most people to avoid doing. Do not start your channel by trolling, right? This is the easiest thing for you to do, right? And it's the easiest path. It's the path of least resistance. I was talking to somebody the other day at work, and we were talking about dating, right? And you get to a point in life where how do I say this without sounding really crass? So like when you start dating, you start like trying to hook up with girls or whatever, there's what's called low-hanging fruit, right? So, you know, girls who might be less popular, girls who might be less attractive, girls who have, you know, father issues, all kinds of abandonment issues, like just your general red flag, right? And so a lot of times, guys who don't want to put in the work to improve themselves, don't want to put in the work to make themselves more attractive to like a higher status female, will tend to go after that low-hanging fruit. What you learn as you get older is that there's so much negativity that comes from that. And this sounds horrible for me to even say out loud. Like, I don't mean to objectify a woman. We're talking about this. I'm going somewhere with this. Just stick with me. But you learn as you get older, like there's so many negative things that come from going after people who are scarred or people who are damaged, right? It doesn't work out in the end. And it's the same thing if you try to get somewhere in life by trolling, right? Anytime that you're trying to put somebody else's, light out, extinguish somebody else's success, ultimately that has a very short lifespan. So what I would caution anyone from doing is try your absolute best to not predicate your channel on tearing other people down. That's a very, very prevalent thing to do on YouTube. I think that, with everybody having access, with everybody having the ability to start, whatever, that's just a very easy way to do it. But it's hard to create value from that further on down the road. I'm about 3 years, I'm going on 4 years into having this platform. And in order to be able to gain a large enough following to monetize, or even if you just want to have an impact on the industry, it's hard to have an impact when everything that you do is coming from a negative space. So avoid starting your program or starting your platform from a space of trolling. I think that's a very, very short term strategy. I don't think it works out long term in the end. The second thing would be to be yourself. It's also very, very easy to start your channel or to create your platform and mimic other people. So I was into photography, 4 years ago, and one of the biggest photographers, one of the biggest photography content creators, his name is Peter McKinnon, right? And so if you go on YouTube and you look at any of the photography based YouTube platforms, everybody, for the most part, is copying Peter McKinnon, the way that they do their YouTube live streams, the way that they take their pictures, everything about how they edit their stuff. It's all like a carbon copy of Peter McKinnon. In the 2A space, like everybody is making things like, Travis Botkins with T-Rex arms. People are making content that's very similar to GBRS. Like there's these big time content creators in every genre, and most people tend to try to be a carbon copy of that. When you follow somebody else's lead, when you make content based off of what other people are doing, if you try and copy other people's content, you're going to always be behind where that person is, whatever that person is doing, whatever they're putting out, whatever they're creating. Like you're never going to be able to get further than where they are because you're always waiting for them to do something for you to put that kind of content out. The second thing with be yourself is that whatever your viewpoint is, and this is so specific to security, whatever your experience is, whatever your viewpoint is, it's needed. It's needed in the community. Like there was a guy that reached out to me a couple of years ago. Actually, it was earlier this year. And he works in Chicago. He does, I think, unarmed security. He works in like a convenience store or something like that. His experience in security in Chicago is night and day from my experience here in Portland, right? That's something that needs to be shared. Somebody else is doing, security for a military base. Like they're a private contractor that's doing security on a military base. They're not doing anything that's like super outrageous, but their experience and what they deal with, what they do on a daily basis is 180 degrees different from what I do. So each one of you, regardless of what your role is, what your task is, whether you're armed, you're unarmed, whether you're working a post or you're patrolling, all of you have your own unique experiences, and you need to share those unique experiences because people who resonate with me might not resonate with what you're going through, but people who don't resonate with me are going to resonate 110% with what you're going through because your experience is so different. If you're a white guy from Kentucky and you're 23 years old, your experience is going to be so unique compared to my experience at 45 in Portland being a black guy. So like share that, create your YouTube channel, create your platform and share your experience from what you go through because that's so important. We got a comment that just came through. Let me post this real quick. Let me see what this says. There we go. Glad I found this. Starting a channel after January 1st, 35 years in the industry and wanting to build the next generation of security professionals. Dude, Donald, I wish that more people that have a lot of experience, people who've been in this industry for over 20 years, you guys have seen so much. You've seen so much change. You've seen like fads come and go. You've seen, legislation be in your favor. You've seen legislation go against you. And full circle, like you guys who have been in this industry for a long time, you have so much experience to share. What I think is really bad about the security industry is that, unfortunately, people come and they go. It's not like being in law enforcement where you're going to put 20 years in, you're going to stay with a certain organization or a certain department. In security, people move around. So for guys who are coming into the security field, a lot of times they don't have that person that's been in for 10, 15, 20 years, because you just really don't see that much anymore. But you guys offer so much advice and you have such a perspective that is so needed, not just in security, but in life. So I really commend you for doing that, because your experiences and what you've gone through, it needs to be put like out into the sphere of information. So definitely kudos to you, man. And once you start your channel, come back on here, post a link to it, send me an email, like any way that I can help promote what you're doing. I would 110% be down to do that. So be yourself, share your story, share your experience. With that, number 3 is going to be find your own lane. That's very similar to being yourself, but you need to develop a path for you. You need to blaze your own trail, right? So for me, when I started this channel, the exact thing that I said was, I'm a middle-aged man who is getting into security. I have worked in countless other fields, and I was doing something completely different before I moved to Portland and got into security. I have law enforcement background, I have military background, but all of those things were done years before I moved to Portland and got into armed security. So I was creating a channel where I was going to document trying to find training and information. I could not find training and information for defensive tactics, for soft skills, for communication, like things that were specifically set up and designed for security. So as I was looking to find those things, I was going to create this channel and I was going to document that. So early in my YouTube channel, if you guys were to go back, a lot of my first like 8 videos are me taking defensive tactics classes. They're videos of me going through like scenario training, or me working on a firearm simulator. Like I was literally just documenting what I was doing. And when I couldn't find a lot of the things that I was looking to do, I just started to create these conversations and start to talk about these things and put that on the channel. So the channel has evolved from someone who was searching, who was seeking, to someone who is now creating that lane for people who are coming in after me, who are looking for the same thing. So most of the stuff that you find on my channel is me trying to educate people who are much like me. You're coming into the industry, you don't have a lot of experience, you're not a former forward operator, maybe you're not a police officer, you're just a guy. And if you're just a guy, where do you start? And I've tried to create that. So that has been my lane. Someone else's lane, if they've got, 10 years experience, if you're like this guy, you've got 30 years of experience, he's coming from a completely different perspective and point of view of what he can bring to the table. So each and every one of you, whether you're watching this right now or you're watching this on the replay, each and every one of you, when you create your platform, you have a specific lane. It doesn't need to be education if education is not your lane. It doesn't need to be firearms if firearms is not your lane. It doesn't need to be advocacy if advocacy is not your lane. Find your niche, find your lane, and then just 110% lean into that. We got another comment here. Let me pull this up, see what it says. Oh, it's just my man Donald. He said, hang on. My man Donald here said, if I can get this to pop up here. There we go. Sounds good. Thanks. Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Looking forward to working with you in the future. Okay. Number 4 is going to be embrace the ride. When you first start on YouTube, you are going to want to put so much time and effort into it. Like trying to get that first 100 subscribers is probably going to be a big motivation. Trying to get to 1,000 subscribers is going to be a big motivation. Trying to become monetized. And guys, when you think about monetization, it sounds a lot more exciting than it is. You know, I think that on a monthly basis, I probably make like anywhere from 60 to 120 bucks on YouTube. Like for all the time and the effort that I put into it, I don't make a lot of money. You know, most people do not. A large number of people on YouTube never make any money. So like I'm happy to, you know, be able to say that I can purchase, I don't know, a fucking wireless mouse or something, you know what I mean? And use the money from YouTube, and it kind of somewhat justifies me doing it at all, but I don't make a lot of money from it. But I can remember like trying to get that first 100 subscribers, trying to get that first 1,000 subscribers, and then my goal was like I want to get to 5,000. Like I was able to do that. You know, you're going to go through these periods of time where you're going to put so much effort into it. This has been my experience. Maybe it won't be your experience, but you're going to put so much effort into it, and you probably will not get a level of response or return that seems like it's worth it. You probably won't in the short term. You might put up a video, you know, like a short, and it might get 1,000 views. It might get 10,000 views. And that might equate to like you getting 10 to 15 more subscribers. But at the end of the day, what you ultimately realize, like on the back end, is that getting more subscribers doesn't necessarily mean that you have more people that are viewing your content or digesting your content. Like what you ultimately want is to create a community of people that are looking for what you're talking about, looking for what you're sharing, looking for what you're bringing to the table. Okay. And that's something that you have to cultivate over a much longer period of time. And it's just like any other relationship. Like you have to prove to people that you're reliable. You have to prove to people that your message is a legitimate message. You have to prove to people that your reason for doing things are sound and just, and you're not just doing it for attention. You know, I don't think that I realized early on when I got into like trying to create content that it was about relationship, and it's about building something that is a two-way street, knowing the people who are on the other side of the camera, and that takes time. So just embrace that ride. You're going to have times where you're really enjoying doing it, and you're going to have times where you're just thinking to yourself like, what's the point? And ultimately, if you get to a point where you don't want to do it anymore, then you know you just don't do it anymore, right? The last thing would be to embrace other creators, right? The people that are in your space, the people that are doing something that is similar to what you're doing or similar to what you're trying to do, embrace them. It's not a competition. I think that for me specifically, I'm a very competitive person. Early on, when I started my channel, I felt like a lot of the things that I was doing, I was trying to compete with other creators. It's not a competition. Like specifically for security, we need education, we need training, we need information. So if there are other creators that are out there and they're putting out sound educational information, they're putting out sound training information, if they're trying to uplift the community, they're trying to do something good and positive for the community, embrace those creators. Go onto their pages, like their pages, subscribe to their pages, comment on their content, dialogue with them on their content. The more that we can create better security guards, the less we have to worry about the industry itself getting the legs cut out from underneath it. There are a lot of people out there working in security that do not have proper training and that do not have a proper mindset. Those are the people that are going to fuck up the entire industry for all of us. So if there's people out there at all who are trying to help mitigate that and navigate that, we want to be supportive of that. So I would say definitely do your absolute best to embrace other creators. The 2A community does a great job of like propping each other up, sharing information, collaborating. I would love to see more of that in the security industry. I think we need it. And it's something that moving forward, like I'm going to try and spearhead that a little bit more myself. So those would be my 5 tips. So we'll go back over them again. Number 5 is going to, well, I'll say number 1. Number 1 is going to be avoid creating your platform off of trolling. Okay. That was very small dick, low vibration energy type shit. Number 2 is going to be yourself. Okay. Find your own voice and share your voice with the community. Number 3 is going to be find your own lane, right? Find your own avenue of what you can bring to the security industry. Number 4 is going to be embrace the ride. It's not going to always be fun. It's not going to always be sexy. You're not going to always be successful. There's going to be times where you feel like you're just wasting your fucking time, but that's part of the ride. And then last but not least is going to be embrace other creators. Share the space, right? Share the space. All right, let's see here. What we got here. The Art of Combat says, hi, I'm cured. Okay, well, congratulations. I'm glad you're feeling better. Hope everything continues to work out well for you. All right. All right, guys. So that's my 5 tips. Take it or leave it. Share your comments in the stream once it's posted, and let other people know what you think. What are your thoughts? What would you do if you were going to be starting a channel, if you were going to be giving out any sort of information? Let's see here. We got one more comment before I get off. Let's see what he says here. Currently a personal trainer, but tired of the inconsistent income. You think security is good to mix with security. Art of Combat, security is good. There's always work that's out there. If you want to work, there's work that's available. If you want to work in various avenues of security, you can do that. Okay. I would say get your armed license. It's not, in my opinion, it's not worth it to work on armed security, and it's extremely dangerous. Things are getting worse in the times that we're in. I would not want you to work on armed security. So get your license and find a company. There's tons of companies out there, regardless of where you're at. You should be able to find some work with a decent company. Armed security contracts in most places are going to be $20 an hour and up. Okay. So even if you're working part-time, you can make decent money, just as a side gig if you're making over 20 bucks. So get your guard card, get your concealed carry license if you don't already have it, get your armed license, and then jump into the game, dude. We need more people out there. Okay. Any more comments? Going once. Any more comments? Going twice. Any more comments? Going 3 times. All right. Well, I'm going to go hit the gym, guys. I will see you guys later on tonight. I'll be live streaming at about 6 o'clock. We're going to have a couple of guests join us. Look forward to seeing you guys. As always, be great.